In the Sinai desert, and so began the Six-Day War. Tension between Israel and her Arab neighbors had been growing for months. This was a preemptive strike, not just in Sinai, but in the Gaza Strip, Jordan, Syria, and in Jerusalem itself. The superiority of Israeli equipment, the high morale of her troops, and the brilliant generalship of Moshe Dayan provided one of the most spectacular military victories since the Second World War. As Israeli troops advanced towards the Suez Canal, the much larger Egyptian army was completely overrun. Further north in Jordan, it was the same story, with Israeli paratroops capturing the center of Jerusalem after fierce hand-to-hand fighting with Jordanian troops. In Syria, Israeli forces advanced to the Golan Heights after a fierce artillery exchange. Meanwhile, the United Nations called for a ceasefire, but Israel turned it down. Despite the huge number of casualties the advance had caused, at least 100,000 in the first 3 days, she wanted to press on. Four days from the start of the offensive, after a desperate counterattack had left the remnants of the Egyptian army trapped behind Israeli lines, Egypt admitted defeat and accepted the United Nations ceasefire resolution. President Nasser resigned. Only mass rallies of support in Cairo persuaded him to change his mind. The battle in the Sinai desert was over. Israel now turned her attention to Syria, bombing Damascus and advancing into the Golan Heights. After 6 days, to the delight of her victorious army, Israel had gained all her objectives and announced that she too was accepting the United Nations ceasefire resolution. As the last Arab generals surrendered, Israel held territory many times her own size. She now faced the dilemma of how to control their hostile populations. It was a problem that was to last through the generations to the present day. But at the time, the Six-Day War was a textbook exercise on how, if you have to go to war, to win it.
Bam. Preaching the words of Assalamu alaikum, which means peace and blessings be upon you. And I mention both Jesus and Muhammad's names. Peace be upon them both, because they were both messengers of truth and reality. You're looking at the Underground Railroad TV show. Me and Alderman Jones come on every Saturday night, Central Time, at 10:30. But you can see me and Alderman Jones on YouTube 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And I guess you can see him and just Google his name up. That's all you have to do, as the Alderman says. So I want to say hi to the people in the United States, Canada, Central America, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. And hi to my brothers over there in the UK. And guests introduce themselves, and my co-hosts introduce themselves.
Well, my brother always leaves out that I was the Democratic Ward Committeeman. That's a political party position. And I was an alderman. That's a political position. There's a difference between the two.
Yes.
And I am also the Grand Governor, post number 1 of the Moore Science Temple.
Mm-hmm.
And the Consulate General.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm going to have to be more studious, as they say. And my guest, Dr. Lee Warren of the Power Latent Man Plum. And a phenomenal show. Everybody needs to tune in, but I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell what time his show comes on. And they hold conferences. They're a not-for-profit organization. So thank you, Dr. Lee Warren.
I'm Dr. Lee Warren. I'm the founder of PLEM. That's the Power Laden Man and co-founder. Founder and CEO, excuse me. We come on every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. on Channel 36. And it's reshown from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. on Channel 36. That's every Thursday morning. We have free lectures every Sunday. You can contact us at 773-509-8124. And next Sunday, that's the 21st.
This is a tape show.
This is a tape show, but every third Sunday of the month, we do have financial preparedness that you should be able to realize and get ready for the global reset.
So I'm going to tell everybody, you know what Dr. Lee Warren, all praises due to Allah, is very astute, very intelligent, and knows what's going on about geopolitical issues. And all you have to do is just, as Alderman Jones says, just Google his name up, Dr. Lee Warren. Put it in any search engine. And he's on YouTube, whether you use Yahoo, Bing, let's promote, that's all. And you can get him, and you know what? He can be a guest on other television shows to share the extensive knowledge that he has. And thank you, Dr. Lee Warren, for being a guest.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
And being part of the Underground Railroad. And I want to ask you something about the Middle East. There was a 6-day war that transpired in the Middle East, and there still is internal conflict and turmoil that is going on right now. Why did this conflict between them and the Palestinians occur? Who's right? Who's wrong?
Well, I guess, that's a very good question about, but this goes back further than the 6-day war. It goes back to the Zionists.
Early 1900s.
Early 1900s, before World War I, they'd already designed to have a.
Can I ask what a Zionist?
A Zionist it's not religious. It's not like the Jewish religion. It's more, if I could say, secular or atheistic. Because you can be Zionist
and not even believe in God,
and not be Jewish.
Okay.
See, you could be a Jew and you could be Zionist, but all Jews are not Zionists. And matter of fact, most Jews don't believe in the
Zionism.
The Zionism that you have and what they are perpetuating is more or less a political type of organization. And they went there in the Middle East and they serve a purpose in the Middle East there as, should I say, a perpetuation of mostly the Western philosophy. You have to forget that oil is a great weapon to be used economically. And you got those Middle Eastern countries, they didn't want them to become, should I say, politically independent. So you have Israel in there, and you have constantly between the British and Americans, the Anglo Americans, constantly stirring that region up.
Yes.
So they create a lot of strife there, creating terrorism there, and that's the primary reason why it's it won't be settled. Besides the Palestinian problem, Jew-Palestinian problem, you got this other stuff that's there to create chaos, to create instability there, to prevent them nations from becoming independent. Remember, they make a vast amount of money, and they don't want those nations becoming sort of independent competitors to them.
Okay. Well, you're right. You're 100% right. It's all about what I always tell people: money. It's all about money. It ain't got nothing to do with no religion.
That's it.
And they got folks believing. We once had a guy on this show, and he was telling me about, well, I'm a Jew. I told him, I have friends who are Jews. So what do that mean? You're anti-Semitic. I said, where's your father from? He said, Poland. I said, well, then I've never said anything about you because you.
What is anti-Semitic from my man?
That means people in North Africa.
Okay.
And he was from Poland. You know that ain't nowhere near North Africa.
Right.
So I couldn't have been talking about him.
Right.
All right?
Okay. Excuse, we have a clip about the Mideast, and they're going to roll it in right now. Okay. Thank you.
Palestinians killed as Israeli forces pounded targets across Gaza from the air, from land and from sea. The main power station was knocked out, cutting electricity to Gaza City and severely affecting water supplies, while the Hamas television station was also attacked. 5 Israeli soldiers were killed in a shootout with militants who tunneled across the border. We'll be live from Israel in a moment. But first, to Paul Mason in Gaza. Paul.
John, just 5 kilometres that way is the forward edge of a modern battlefield with tanks, drones, artillery strikes, snipers, highly motivated troops getting ready to kill each other at the first opportunity. The problem is that world overlaps with the world of bread shops, of petrol stations, of nurseries, of displaced people having their dinner on the grass. And when you mix those two worlds, what you get is this. You get 1,200 Palestinian dead on the Palestinian side. I think we could say the majority of those will be civilians, and on the Israeli side 53 soldiers now and 3 civilians. There is slaughter going on quite simply because the whole thing is compressed into 4 or 5 kilometres of shattered country. Now, there's been ceasefire attempts today. We've had a bit of a farce. We've had the PLO announce a ceasefire. We've had Israeli TV announce a ceasefire. There's no ceasefire. Well, all of this has to be framed by what happened last night. It was shock and awe here for 6 or 7 hours. Intensely terrifying, to be honest, to live through. It was a night of destruction.
You know, Dr. Lee Warren, there are people right now being bombed in the Middle East, in the peninsula right now, being demoralized, destroyed, killed. And what is the overall solution? We look at the reality, but what is a solution, in your opinion, to alleviate these ills that exist in that part of the world?
Well, that's a very difficult situation that they're in, and you got unless those two parties come together and agree. First of all, Jews are not leaving there. I mean, they just forget that, and agree to some basic borders, and that's it. But you have the Jews want to create a situation based on the Bible, 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago, and those people are new. They just came into the region in 1940, and unless they can come to some type of compromise on both sides, you can continue to have that strife there. And then on top of that, the biggest thing beyond that is that a lot of people want the strife to continue because there is oil there. That's one of the world's top. They call oil black gold.
And gas.
Okay.
And gas. They call oil black gold. That is the one of the largest commodities in the world. So that's something, if in the industrial world, you got to have. So there's only a few places where it's at, and the great majority of there are it's in the Middle East. And folks, like we already said, that's the problem Gaddafi had. Gaddafi had some of the best oil in the world, and he wanted to form a union there in Africa.
Yes.
That was with the dinar that would make itself independently from America's and English domination. They wasn't going to have that. See, England and America controls the world economically. Until we understand that, then there won't be no peace, and they definitely do not want a competitor with the resources that they had. They know that those people could at some time in the future, rival them, and they don't want no rival. They want no competition.
Do you see this as being feasible? Do you think this is going to happen in your lifetime?
What?
I'm talking about the solution that you just...
Oh, no, it will happen. Because basically it comes down to keep in mind that that's a volatile region. It's made vulnerable, not for religion. It's there to constantly listen. If you in your house and your wife not coming and constantly stir up strife, you can't move forward. And that's what they do. They're constantly stirring up strife in those regions where those nations cannot. Because usually what would happen, if they were left alone, they would eventually come together and join and form their own economy, become very independent, become very industrialized. So the Saddam showed you what would happen. And they would make progress, but they were being undermined by the powers to be because they didn't want the competition. and they want this new world order.
So you know, my father, Yah, he's already determined the outcome.
Oh yeah, the outcome is determined straight by
All
Yahweh.
right?
Right,
He's
exactly.
already, Yah is already determined. I know they don't like hearing me using that phrase of Father Yah, but Yah is for the Islamic and as well as those people who say that they're Jews or say that they're Christians, because the word Allah originally under the Spanish was Ayah, all right? But most people don't know that. Ah means the A, and the double L was the Y sound, Ayah. So they're talking about the same God, but they're just using the old Spanish word after the Spanish lost power. They never changed it. But Yah has already determined what's going to take place.
Dr. Lee Warren, there is economic turmoil going on right now in Egypt, okay, because the President Morsi of the Islamic Brotherhood was taken out of power. You know what battle powers to be. What was your assessment of that? And Egypt, that president just got out of jail. Is he going to be put back in power
Wait
by
a
the
minute,
U.S.?
whoa. They didn't, well, the way was the trick. First of all, we have to realize this. The Muslim Brotherhood is a front from the MI6.
MI6, I don't know.
MI6,
the
military,
English
that's the English
CIA.
CIA.
Okay.
And what you call, in other words, they were all created. That's a created front, just like Saudi Arabia is a created front. See?
Okay.
All of that, reason why everybody's so upset, if you go back and read history, the reason why you have this crazy form of Islamic, this crazy form of Wahhabi, it's a Wahhabi, it's
Yes, sir.
crazy form of Wahhabi. They were financed and created by the CIA and MI6 to create chaos there. Other than that, you wouldn't have this, the Islams wouldn't be this crazy stuff and terror stuff that you normally have. That was all a creation of the Americans to control and constantly vex those governments.
Because it's about money.
It's about money.
What are you saying? President Morsi of Egypt, he didn't want to follow orders no more. So
Not only that, when listen, you got a president that was Muslim, Obama, and they wanted to try to push this
Sharia law.
Sharia law, but the Muslim Brotherhood is more than that, and many governments in that region feared the
Muslim Brotherhood.
Muslim Brotherhood. Nobody, Sadat didn't want it. What's his name of Egypt? What's his name? 8-Day War. What was the president's name?
You talking about Mubarak? Is it?
Not Mubarak. Before him,
Sadat?
Sadat.
No, the other guy,
then,
Nasser.
Nasser.
And every Muslim that was ahead of the states in the 40s and 50s and 60s, they feared.
They drowned him.
They feared the Muslim Brotherhood because they knew it was a CIA and a military. and a British front.
Wow, man. Could you get a question for? I got it.
Go on.
That's the internet. I'm not saying anything is crazy. Just look on the internet and find out who originally financed and set that organization up.
And you know what?
What can I?
Oh, go ahead.
Gaddafi is a perfect example.
Right.
Gaddafi once worked for the CIA.
Right. That's just another one.
And when he decided that he was going to be independent of them.
There you go. There you go.
You hear what I said?
Right.
You're fine as long as you're going to work with them.
Right.
But when you're going to be independent of them, you got to go.
That's right. And so does Saddam.
Yeah, Saddam, the same thing. He
Same
wanted
thing.
to take all of the American dollars he had and put in Euro dollars.
Right.
And that would have destroyed this country.
Right.
You know, Dr. Lee Warren, in Egypt, President Mubarak got a reprieve for the people that really was mass murder. And he is going to be out of jail. He's out of jail right now. Is he being let out of jail to be put back in power in Egypt?
Well, put it this way. He's been a puppet of the American government for a long time, and the British, and he served his purpose there. And then they knew what was taking place there. They knew exactly what was taking place there. But what they decided to do was that it was time for him to go, and they created those charges. They bought, by the fact, they created the revolution. It's called the Color Revolution. What initiated Mubarak overthrow was that the commodities for the food went crazy. And the average Egyptian couldn't work and feed himself and his family.
Wow.
They were out in the street. That's the guy that set himself afire. And then the CIA took that whole event and pushed Mubarak out.
Wow.
And Egypt should be a very wealthy country, but I mean, again, between the British and the Americans, they are.
If you don't control the oil.
That's right.
Or the money that is claimed from it.
Right.
How are you going to be a financially independent nation?
That's
you
it.
Can't be.
You can't be.
You know what? As we go through this economical downturn right now. All these things that are transpiring globally in the Middle East and other parts of the region. How does this affect us within our hemisphere, the United States of America, Canada, and Central America? How does this affect us? How does this affect us?
I think Doctor will agree with me. There's about to be a global reset.
Well, it's going to be, exactly. It's going to be a global reset. That's coming.
Not just here in America.
That global reset.
That means everything is revalued. Money is revalued. The whole economic system is reset. And when it's reset, it won't be America in charge. See, America was uno. Now they will be one amongst minis, and the minis will have more power than we have. In other words, that's what I'm saying. So if you got one vote, and let's say you got one vote, and everybody's got one vote, they can outvote you. So what's going to happen? Let me say this: the power is already in the East. The largest economy in the world is in the East. They represent 50% of the people. Well, more than 60 or 70% of the population, and most of the growth is going to be in the East versus the West. Europe, United States, and Canada. They don't have the growth. They don't have the people, and they don't have the resources.
And that includes Russia and China.
Actually, it includes Russia, China, all of Asia, and see Russia, all of Asia. See, and once Asia gets together, they will confront America and Africa.
Got a question for I got.
No, go on.
Okay. You ain't got one? Okay.
Now go on.
Question to you, Dr. Lee Warren, is, you know what, you talk about the economy, and that's a very vital point of this, of the society. If we are in debt to the Asians, to China right now, we in debt. If China was to recall that debt, what type, and I don't think they will, but maybe you think they will, what type of effect would that have?
Well, that would crash. That would crash the economy.
Would it be to their benefit to recall?
No, it wouldn't, because they would crash the economy. Why would you crash the golden cow?
Okay.
Which is America. So what you would do is, the Chinese say, this is the golden mine. What you would do, go in, you got the debt. You take the money, you say, you know what? To give you an example, 1/3 of New York City is owned by the Chinese. They don't board it up. So all they're going to do is buy factories. They're going to buy buildings. They're going to buy real estate. They're going to buy up all assets. They got $3 trillion. So all you're going to do is say, you know what? The best way to control somebody is economically. You don't have to fight a war.
Is there fear of nationalization where you know what the people, because we can nationalize?
Well, you can. The problem with that is that, see, the Chinese is the largest manufacturer in the world. United States, they made the Chinese the largest manufacturer in the world. So they don't have factories here. They don't have anything here. So we have to buy everything from China, from overseas. And to give you an example of what happened when that switch went on in that car, they never did say that switch that was defective. They had the manufacturers coming before Congress. They wouldn't tell them that thing was made in China or in Asia. They made defective parts. That bag that blew up, the airbag, that was made in Tokyo.
I don't know.
The whole, So what happens? You got a global economy. All these parts come from all over the world, and in the United States they assimilate. So we are not. Most people don't understand. We are not number one.
That's why I suggest, Doc, for people to read the 18th chapter of the book of Revelations.
Right, that's a good example. That's a good example. Read the 18th chapter that tells you about the great master Babylon, and the system is, let me tell you this, when the Japanese fought United States, and the great emperor, they were thinking about bombing the United States. And they said, listen, we don't want to bomb the United States because we want to trade with them folks later. Because they realized that you got a large economy here. People make quite a bit of money, and everybody. Listen, if you make a car, if you make anything electronically, what markets are you going to go to first to sell it in?
United States.
That's it.
Out of the UK.
See, out of the UK. So basically, they come to the United States. You got Samsung sells their phones. You got Nissan. You got all these Japanese cars. When I was growing up, I mean, you had Toyota. Most of these. I mean, everything was GMC. Now we got all these foreigners in here. So you say, what goes on here?
We got 3 minutes left, and I do have to ask you one more question. What effect does Turkey have on the Mideast? Turkey.
Well, Turkey.
We got 3 minutes left.
Real quick, Turkey was the old ancient Ottoman Empire, which was defeated by the British in World War I. They had problems leaning toward trying to get into the EU. They refused to because they said you're not in Europe. Now what Turkey is doing now, Turkey is going to go with Russia and China.
The Asian group.
They'll go with the Asian because they feel that all the growth in the next 25 or 30 years is going to happen in Asia.
So you need to learn Mandarin. So I want to say assalamu alaikum to everyone. You're looking at the Underground Railroad. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30, and I want to give Dr. Lee Warren the opportunity to say something. There may have been something that he wanted to say that's not even related to the subject matter. Please, go ahead.
I like to say, everybody, look forward to the spirit of Yah in you. And you live in a world that's changing. I mean, great changes. And that's a cycle. I'll say this is simply, we've been living in a so-called white man's world for the last 500 years. Well, that's changed. It's changing. All the power is originally going back to the east. Remember, when they came out of Europe, they was going to the east to get the fine linen and stuff. Now all that power is back in the east. All the money is back in the east. All the future growth. So you're going to be living in a different world that most of our lives have changed. So get ready for a huge change.
When does your show come on? And
the Plum Show comes on every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30. Every Wednesday on Channel 36, and it comes on every Thursday from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And we have free lectures at Plum. That's every Sunday at 1100 East 55th in room 208. You can call for more information at 773-509-8124. Again, 773-509-8124.
Thank you, Dr. Lee Warren. Do you have any finishing comments for the audience?
I think the doctor said everything.
Okay, and I want to express to you that each one of these gentlemen right here, you can go to YouTube. As Alderman Jones says, you can Google our name up. And all you got to do is put it in the search bar. And then what you do is you press video, documents, or whatever you want to press. And something is going to come up on us. And I want to say thank you to the world audience. And thank you, Dr. Lee Warren, for accepting the invitation. And thank you.
Thank you.
To Alderman Jones for always being on my, I think, right-hand side.
Well, you said something. You asked me a question. Most people don't know that the only reason Nelson Mandela went to jail was because of the CIA here in America.
Yeah.
How many people know that?
He didn't want to follow orders, as you said.
No, they wanted to neutralize him because he wouldn't follow orders.
That's right.
It's all about following orders, and as you say, like when I go to the job, you do as you're told. There's somebody that can't replace me. But this economy is not going to get any better, people, and you better wake up. Because like the Dr. Lee Warren saying, there are FEMA camps and there are coffins in the FEMA camps right now. So wake up. Wake up. And you know what? Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.